Hi friends, happy Wednesday. Welcome back. It is Hive Day. However, we are not doing Hive Day this week, as I'm sure you guys can tell by now. Well, actually, by the time most of you view this, it's technically going to be Thursday because I'm recording this pretty late on a Wednesday night. As you can see, I am not home. I had some work to do at the office, so while I am here late, I figured I would jump on and tell you guys about the dream I had, which, as you can see by the thumbnail, today's reading is going to be for John O'Keefe and JonBenet Ramsey. Totally random, right? Well, if you guys remember me mentioning in a couple recent videos that I had a dream with John O'Keefe and a spirit baby, I've been wanting to tell you guys about this dream for a while. This must have been at least a couple weeks now. I feel like this had to have been around the time that the verdict came back because all that energy was just so big. And it was around the time I got this dream and the downloads were coming in. It was such an emotional time for everybody that was so deeply invested in the Karen Reed trial. And, you know, me personally, I had to take a step back from it. As I've mentioned before, I've been dying to get back into it with you guys. I've wanted to channel John and see what his message was about the jury, you know, the verdict from the jury and just what we can expect moving forward. I wanted to do the Sandra Birchmore. I ended up doing that. We're going to channel her again, and then we're going to channel her and John together. There's a lot of things to still dive into around the energy of John O'Keefe, but tonight it felt important to tell you guys about this dream and try to pull energies on this first before it just becomes something I keep pushing off, and then, you know, basically there's no better time than the present. I will say this was a dream, but if you guys know the dreams I share with you, they don't really like feel like dreams per se. They feel more like I'm like stepping into sorry guys, my phone is being super weird tonight. There's definitely something going on with the electronic communications tonight as I've been sitting here in meditation and shuffling and trying to properly convey this message gently. It wasn't a bad dream by any means. I don't know what the cards are going to say or how it's going to all come together, but it was a very specific, direct message that linked these two. And I think because of my connection personally with John and JonBenet, there are certain things that I feel like from the other side they were able to bring to me that would make sense to me in the way that I've channeled each of them individually. I don't feel in my dream that JonBenet herself in spirit was there. It felt more like I was talking to John himself and he was bringing JonBenet in as like a placeholder to kind of connect me to that energy, the same way that I was feeling Sebastian Rogers was in the dream I had about Summer Wells. I think I told you guys in that reading, like, I don't feel like he was there, but I feel like he was shown there to me spiritually to connect the readings that I had done for Sebastian Rogers into something that I needed to kind of interconnect with Summer Wells. So there was like a link there. And then there was actually three spirit kids in that dream. And I said, there's going to be a third energy that connects in with those two in some way. There's going to be like a common denominator, whatever that looks like, whether it's the state of Tennessee, the building community, a common name of whoever is found to be responsible or involved. There's something about three kids and the energy around Sebastian, Summer, and third kid. I don't know how that's all playing out yet. I need to get back to that energy also. But going back to how I feel like it was more so John O'Keefe's energy stepping forward to bring in another spirit child for me to interlink the energies and the messages. It was a very short dream, not a lot of details here, but so profound. So I wrote down a lot of the details here because it's so much in such a little tiny snippet of a dream. Like, I had to then go and like start writing things down on this other side of the paper that kind of to me would be like similarities in what I feel like he was trying to say. So first of all, For those of you who are going to comment that I talked too much in the beginning, you can click off now, because if you feel the need to comment, I am just going to block you. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I do these long introductions. All of your guys' comments about how supportive you guys are and how you enjoy them and like to get to know me and like the pre-messages just as much as me pulling the cards. You guys, these damn cards have no power. Like, these cards are just tools. Like, to get to the point and like start pulling cards isn't the point of why I'm here. I'm not here to be a card reader. I don't place any power in the cards. I don't feel like they're giving me the message. I feel like the Holy Spirit is here giving me the ability to pull in energetic messages from a realm that we don't have very direct access to if we're not tuned into another frequency. I do believe it is led by the Holy Spirit. I only place my faith and my trust in the Holy Spirit. It's not the card. So I mean, like, to try to rush through and get to the point of the message, the whole thing is a message. The whole thing is a message. From when I turn this video on to the time that I turn this video off, the whole thing is the message. It's not about pulling cards. If you guys want just a tarot reader who sits down, flips out cards to put on a show for you and reads the cards and, you know, puts a pretty little picture together, then find a different reader. Like, the message is the message from the time that this camera is on until the time that it turns off. There's no power in the cards. The cards are not going to tell me anything that I couldn't pull intuitively on my own. It's more for validation, painting a picture. It's just a medium that I'm choosing to use right now. Tomorrow I could be using rocks or music. Like, it's a medium that you allow spirit to channel through to bring you messages. There is no power in this card. I could rip this in half, put them in the fire. Like, I don't have any ties to the cards themselves. So like I said, I'm sorry to keep ranting, but it's just the comments are never ending with the get on with it already. Like, what do you want me to get on with? The whole thing is the message. It's not just the cards. Okay, I'm done ranting. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys. Okay. The dream. So in this dream, it doesn't, like, these don't really feel like dreams in a way. They're like, I don't know. It's like I get to be in another place and time for a brief moment where I'm visiting like another dimension, and then I get pulled back. It's, you know, I've had dreams where it feels like they're dreams, deep subconscious thoughts or messages from my team. And then there are other times where I feel like I'm literally transported into like somebody else's world. And that's kind of like how this dream felt, and the Summer Wells dream. I mean, very similar in the fact that like I'm a fly on the wall. I'm watching, I'm observing, I'm taking in notes of different things that are happening around me. And then it's like I get pulled back. So in the dream with John O'Keefe and JonBenet does not make contact with me, and she does not speak to me at all. We're in an attic, and it's like, you know, those attics in like old movies where you can see like the dollhouse, and, you know, it's like a typical triangle attic. It's not very tall. It's just, you know, kind of dusty. You can see like old toys up there, storage boxes. We're in an attic, and I'm sitting on like a tote, right? And John O'Keefe, JonBenet are sitting on the floor. JonBenet's laying on her stomach, like away from me. Like, I can see her little white shoes, and she's wearing this blue dress. And John O'Keefe is like sitting on his butt with one leg like under his other leg. And he's like, so I'm making eye contact with John O'Keefe, and I can see the back of the head of JonBenet, where I know that that's her. You can look at JonBenet from the back in a beautiful little blue dress and just know that that's her. And they were sitting on the ground and they were playing a board game. So the way that they're positioned, I couldn't really tell what game they were playing. Sorry, I just keep getting like these weird... I don't know, something, I don't know what it, I think it's the Wi-Fi here. Something weird is going on with the electronics. I can't explain it. Sorry guys, if I get thrown off, it's because it's just, the risk of sounding crazy. It's like when you tune into a certain frequency, when you get into a certain meditation, you also tune into like other energies that are on that same frequency. And there's something weird going on in this, wherever I'm at mentally right now. I feel like I almost need to like, okay, anyways, should have turned the music back on. I feel like I need to be in a different frequency. Like, I need to go and notch higher or something to get off of this frequency plane that I'm on right now. That probably sounds so wild to some of you, but anyways, from where I could see that they're sitting on the floor playing, I know they're playing a board game. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna say it's like Monopoly or Candyland, something with a square rectangle board, and you know, they're moving pieces, they're playing a game. And there's like a window like behind John, because there's this like stream of light coming in right behind him, almost making him look like angelic. So if you can see like window light coming in from behind someone, it kind of like glows from around them. So I could see kind of like, you know, the little dust particles, and I could see John kind of glowing from behind, and he's sitting on the ground. There's this little window behind him, and I'm just sitting there watching for a while, and like John keeps catching my attention, and he'll make eye contact with me. And a lot of this happens telepathically in the attic, because in a way it's almost like he doesn't want to say things, like things that a gentleman wouldn't say in front of a child. Now, I don't think JonBenet's spirit on the other side is in child form. This is just how the energy was coming through. You know, he's like very careful and wouldn't say certain things in front of a child. So a lot of this is happening like telepathically, where he's not saying these out loud, but he did say one thing out loud, and this is all he said. Everything else was kind of happening like telepathically. So as I was sitting there watching for a while, John looks up at me and he says, "We play up here because neither of us like the basement." And then he winked at me, and I was like, okay. So instantly that was the link. Obviously we don't know really what happened to John. People are speculating garage. I still can't get over the link to the basement, especially with this dream. So okay, so we play up here because neither of us like the basement. And then I wrote, because I'm sorry, I'm reading off my list. It's been a couple weeks since my dream. JonBenet never turned around or said anything to me. And then after John told me neither of them liked the basement with a wink, this was the last thing he said out loud. So then immediately after he made that clear verbally to me about them not liking the basement and being at the highest point of the house instead of the lowest point of the house, like that is where spiritually, I guess, they felt better, happier, freer. I don't know, but that was very clear. And then, so from here on out, it's like this non-verbal communication between John and I, and then instantly I started getting visions. It's almost like John was putting visions into my head. Once I got the link of JonBenet and John O'Keefe, they're in an attic, he references the basement, and then immediately I seen a vision of John Andrew, because then that linked the two for me. It put me in the basement, and then immediately from the readings I've done, Spirit was telling me, and I firmly believe this, is that John Andrew took the life of JonBenet. And if you guys missed it, there's a whole playlist for JonBenet on my channel if you want to go see how that story developed. But so immediately once connecting these two, I started to see a vision of John Andrew walking around his college campus, and he ended up again, I'm like off in the distance, like watching him, like walking around his campus, and then he locks eyes with me, like he sees me watching him, and he locks eyes with me, and I could see that his eyes were completely black, and he was like walking like a zombie, like, you know, just kind of just going through the motions. There was no really life in there in this person, this John Andrew I was seeing walking around campus. And then that was when, like, telepathically, John's looking at me from the basement. I'm sorry, from the attic. And what I heard in my head telepathically from him was like, "Why am I showing you John Andrew?" And then all of a sudden, like, a vision came back into my head in my dream. Mind you, I'm still dreaming all of this. I seen the group of kids from 34 Fairview, and they all had the same, not black eyes like John Andrew had, but the same, like, lifeless, like this lifelessness in their eyes, and they were all kind of like standing like a zombie would stand, right? Like John Andrew was walking like a zombie, black eyes. These kids, you could tell, were just like soulless, lifeless, standing like a zombie. And then from there I heard something very profound. John told me the kids of the kids who grew up with military parents who then came into power are programmed for appointments that they didn't make. Some show up to these appointments eagerly, some show up unknowingly, and some show up at the pearly gates instead. Can you connect the dots? Like, this is so profound, because it was very clear to me when he said this. I started putting these like building blocks together in my head, which made it just incredibly memorable, because he showed me 3 generations. He was linking military, And then he's linking power, money, and children being involved specifically. And then I was hearing in the back of my head as I'm being sucked back from my dream, like the show must go on. And then so that third generation is really key in this whole the kids of the kids who grew up with military parents. I don't know in what time frame this would be, if it's like the grandparents, or because then I was seeing like a staggered like staircase, like one is going, I don't know, like see if you can see, like one's like this and then one goes down like this, like to where they're not the same. I don't know, like they have different starting points. I don't know, like I started seeing like a staggered staircase, and then it was like this is like the physical realm. This is physical world, and then he like showed me like a shifting that put them on the same timeline and said we're talking like spiritual realm. Okay, so anyways, it was like this staircase that was like staggered, and then he's like, no, you're looking at it too literally, too materialistically. We're moving into spiritual. So anyways, again, with this energy of like John, and the way that he comes through is very much a gentleman, very soft spoken, on the ground, playing with JonBenet, making a subtle connection, and then giving me intuitive visions and talking to me telepathically. He brings in John Andrew, he connects them with the Fairview kids, and this is me like analyzing everything, right? Like I've had a lot of time to sit in this energy, so I'm reading off the paper because I've done a lot of thinking on this, a lot of, you know, meditation and trying to put the pieces together. Because then when he asked me at the end, like, can you connect the dots, I'm like, oh, like this is a puzzle, this is like a challenge. John's like, okay, I'm gonna feed you little bits, now you go put this together and let's see like what you come up with. Very subtle but very profound. So yeah, the three generations, there's like, is what I feel like with those staircases, there's like a shift in the generations to where one generation doesn't match up with the other generation. Like there's a shifting in timelines, but like spiritually saying like it doesn't matter, it's the same three shifted. And then tonight, okay, I'm gonna go into like this little flow chart I was doing with just the similarities between the two cases, and tell you guys, you know, kind of where I put the pieces together. And again, this is where I count on you guys to also help me out with the energy. If you guys have thought of other things that would possibly like energetically connect these two, please do share in the comments. I am always looking forward to getting insights and downloads from you guys. So if you know more about either of these cases to where there could be a link that I'm not seeing, please share. So first we have, I just wrote down like grandparents because I don't know really who's who. And then I wrote down like the connection with the military on like the grandparents level, because he said the kids of the kids who grew up with military parents. So I just put grandparents and then I put military because the three generations was very prominent in my vision. And then I wrote JonBenet, which would be JonBenet's dad, as like middle generation. So I have like 1 as grandparents, 2 parents, 3 the kids. So I did that with each side. So we have grandparents, JonBenet, and then John Andrew, JonBenet, the next generation there. And then I wrote on this side the grandparents, and then you have Brian and Chris Albert, and then you have like Colin, Brian Jr., etc., Allie, etc. So the next generation. So that's the 3. And then I wrote here the victims, JonBenet, John O'Keefe. In terms of who took their lives, I put family, and then I put work family. And okay, so I'm looking at this from the perspective of the homeowners. They were both found in the home, right? On like at the residence. So I'm going to like the place of residence where their bodies were found. So I'm going to Brian Albert. Brian and Chris Albert would have had the same parent. So I wrote Brian and Chris, Colin and Brian Jr. This is where I'm going with the energy. So because it was Brian's house, I'm going to this side. I'm not worried about the McAlberts right now, or the Alberts, or the McCabe's, whatever. You guys know what I mean. I'm focusing solely on Brian Albert because I feel like he would be the John Ramsey staircase shift. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Anyway, so we're looking at grandparents, John Ramsey, grandparents, Brian Albert, and then we have John Andrew, Colin, and Brian Jr. The reason why, so for John O'Keefe, I put work family. This happened in Canton. They both lived in Canton, but both Brian and John both work for Boston PD, not Canton PD. Kevin Albert, all these other people had different links in law enforcement, but John and Brian were from the same work family as it relates to being tied to Boston. JonBenet was found in her family home, and her connection is direct family. And then I wrote down another link is the basement. JonBenet was found in the basement. There's a lot of energy around basement with John O'Keefe. In terms of the whole thing, the floor coming out down there is just such a huge piece. Whether he was attacked in the garage or not, where he took his last breath, I believe they both took their last breath in the basement. They were both found at the homes the next morning. They were both found by family, and the crime scene was disturbed. So again, with John Ramsey finding JonBenet, Karen Reed, Jen McCabe finding John O'Keefe, they both rushed to them. They both tried to quote unquote save them or pick them up, or in whatever way the crime scene was disturbed, police didn't find them. There is money and power involved in both of these cases. Neither family neither family who owned the homes were charged. And then there were celebrations that night that they were both killed. So we had Christmas night for JonBenet, and we had Brian Jr.'s birthday party the same night. So that's what I wrote down as far as linking or energetically similar energies for both. And then I wrote down 755 was the house number for JonBenet, and then 34 was the house number for John O'Keefe, as you guys are aware. And then tonight, as I was sitting here in meditation, there's something kept taking me back to, somebody recently commented on one of my videos asking about like MK Ultra and what I know about that. And honestly, guys, I don't know a lot about that at all. I don't know. I really probably should educate myself on that energy, at least on a spiritual standpoint, to try to understand like the root of that energy. But no, I don't know a lot. I know that has something to do with mind control and came from, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, during that time, maybe 60s and 70s probably. I don't know for sure. Something to do with mind control and military. So recently I've got an uptick in comments on my JonBenet Ramsey videos, and I think that is just another confirmation from spirit that I need to be talking about this and linking these two together, because there are people going back to my JonBenet playlist and making comments. So her energy is coming up in my energy again, almost telling me like, yes, you're on the right track with this being brought up. Like for like the last 2 months, I haven't had a comment on the JonBenet videos. And then over the last like week and a half, there's been like 10. So I'm like, okay, that's just more confirmation for me, because these comments started coming after my dream. And then the comment about the MK Ultra is what made me go back to this whole, like, the kids who grew up with military parents that came into power. They're programmed for certain appointments in their life, and they show up one way or another. It's like these kids of the parents, there's pre-planned appointments that they will show up for or they won't show up for. So then I was like, okay, if John O'Keefe mentions the kids who grew up with military parents, at what year that would be, is this a possible link with MK Ultra, like the parents who would have been around this type of energy, or if they were in the military exposed to this? And then just tonight, as I wrote that, when I was asking about it, I heard in my head that MK Ultra used to happen to random people, and now it happens within powerful families. Like, so clear as day. So again, like I said, I'm ignorant on this. I know it probably happened to a lot of people, some random, some not. I don't know if this was like high military personnel, if they chose random people off the street, if they only did this on soldiers. I don't know who the victims were of these type of experiments. I don't even know what to really call it. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I was hearing was it used to be done on random people, and now it happens inside of powerful families. Like, okay, almost like the kids of the kids, or something about that generational pool where like the grandparents would have been the generation where it would be random. And then there's a next generation, almost like going in between the two. I don't know how to say, like, placeholder. Like, to explain this on a spiritual level is so hard, guys, but like, we have the grandparents at the top, and this is where this energy started. We have like the placeholders in the middle, some of both, some of happening in the family, some of a lot of this still going on with like other powerful people. And then after this middle generation establishes the power, like, how do you say, like, solidifies the power within the family. It's like, once given the power, the second generation like solidifies or anchors it, and then the third generation is where this training, this mind control, this change in who is targeted starts happening at this generation, third generation. So whereas, like, if we're using John Ramsey's father, I think he was also a John. I think his name started with a J. So we have him. He would have been involved some way in this military energy of whatever this mind control, MK Ultra. I hesitate talking about it because I'm so ignorant on the fact I don't know really how to say it, but okay, it starts here, and then it's like John Ramsey, the dad, kind of anchors in that energy. Well, this is why we are also doing a reading today, because I do want to get some more information from John O'Keefe about exactly what, like, because this MK Ultra connection and the random versus like the second generation had to also come into like a certain level of status or power in order to really solidify these two generational energies. And then it would be like John Ramsey to John Andrew. This is where it happens inside of the home. It's like this double generation of power, and then it goes inside. So now it's no longer in the military, random families. It's not happening to random soldiers. It's not happening on a level that would be considered military. Now it's happening in the basements of people's family homes, from the kids of the kids who were raised in the generation of this being a random experiment. And it slowly evolved throughout the generations to where there was also an anchoring that needed to happen with the middle generation. Like, this is so complex, guys. I hope you're following me. I hope I'm not confusing you and making a mess of this, because I'm trying to convey it in the best way possible, because I feel like John brought this to me for a reason. There's a lot of like spiritual warfare going on here. And there's something about that like second middle generation locking it into a switch. It's like starting, locking in, switching. Okay? From the second generation, who would be John Ramsey's Brian Alberts, into the John Andrew Colin Alberts connection, timeline, bloodline, whatever this looks like. This now switches to being an internal family affair, where these men in power then turn to the basements of their own homes, where they project this type of energy on their own family to control and show up, quote unquote, as he says, for appointments that were predestined. Within, like, maybe there was some sort of like spiritual contract between the first two generations, where there are certain dates with destiny that somebody in that bloodline shows up for, and then it goes into programming these kids of these other generations to show up for these planned appointments, is how John said them to me. They're programmed for appointments that they didn't make, but they show up one way or another, or they show up at the pearly gates. So, can I connect the dots? Anyways, that's my dream. That's a lot. That was really long, and like I said, it was, if you go back to just visualizing the dream with me, it's mere seconds that I was with John in this attic, no more than a couple minutes. So much to unpack there, and that is what we're doing today, guys. I have the child and the main male out here representing the two of them. I'm going to ask John O'Keefe to join us here, and then just get some messages to see if we can bring in any more pieces of the puzzle. I know that was a lot already, and man, like, I almost feel like the more cards we add, it's just going to make this message even heavier. I feel like that was so much already. I'm debating on if I want to also channel JonBenet. I mean, why not, right? Alright guys, I think we're going to split the energies and pull energies from both and see how they come together in the middle. And we're just going to invite both of them here. So I will do a quick prayer of protection and then we will dive in. Holy Spirit, thank you for being here and protecting me and my space, as well as my viewers, wherever they are watching. I ask that you cover us in the white light of heaven, surround us in your protection. Do not allow any meddling, low vibrational energies to introduce themselves here. I am welcoming in John O'Keefe from the other side and JonBenet Ramsey if they have any messages that they would like to give us about the dream that I received or anything around their deaths or the generational contracts that showed themselves in the dream. I just ask that the messages be clear and concise and that you give me the discernment to know what to share and what not to share, and let this message be for the highest good of everybody involved. Amen. John O'Keefe, JonBenet, you both are absolutely welcome here. You may utilize the energy in the space to bring messages forth in whatever way you choose. I'm going to pull one dark magic card for both of you, and then I will channel JonBenet on this side, John O'Keefe on that side, and let's just see what you guys have to add to the message. Thank you guys for being here. JonBenet, I'm going to pull one card for your side. I get one card. That's two. Can I get one card? Oh my gosh, I just heard in my head that she hates the smell of that candle. That's actually kind of funny. This candle is Yankee Candle. It's one of the mini candles I got. Oh, those all went all different directions. I got it during the fall. And it came in like a 3-set of mini Yankee candles, and I thought it was the cutest thing ever. This one is pumpkin banana scone. I wonder if there's some sort of energy around like a bad experience she had with one of those scents. But yeah, I just heard in my head she hates the smell of that candle. Anyways, the card we picked is Infinity. Preserve your power. Card 27, and this is looks like a masculine holding a red balloon. All right, John, I'm gonna get one for your energy. Both of these are energies of the number 9. Those of you who are into numerology, those are both 9 energies. Card 26 here for John says evolve. This looks like a little kid sitting on a bed holding a teddy bear. I'm going to get one card for each of them for the 2 middle energies. Get 2 cards, bringing you guys together in the middle. Can I get the linking energies between the 2 of you? Holy shit. The 2 that just flipped out for the linking energies between the child and the main male is occupation. So again, that military background, occupation, the police family. 34, and then the houses. They were both found at the houses, the basements, etc. The house, and then 34 Fairview. And then the energy of the home. with occupation. That just kind of ties in everything I said, linked them. Wow. That is crazy. I want to glance at infinity and evolve. So infinity is talking about like a need to be silent and not share everything with others. Like it's an energy of like keeping things to yourself. It's a call to be silent. There is mention of the colors red and white, red being vibrancy, passion, and power, and white is purity. It's complete unto itself while containing a rainbow of energy. Now is not the time to give away everything you are doing. Don't reveal your hopes and plans to your peers or others at your same stage of life, but it is time to speak and share with trusted elders and teachers who can help and guide you. So not sharing with your peers, but going to elders, mentors, like sharing with people who can elevate you and guide you. With evolve and grow. Okay, let's just glance over at 26. Oh, 26 and 27. So this talks about being in between childhood and adulthood, which would be the age of these kids. John Andrew, Colin, Brian Albert, Junior, these are the ages between like 18 and 24, between adulthood and childhood. It says when a person stands at the brink between childhood and adulthood, personal growth is inevitable. We also find this lesson later in life at major turning points. Change is one essential eternal force. When evolve appears, you are being reminded that while there are billions of people in the world, there is only one you. You are enough, and it is time to give yourself permission to evolve, to grow, and to grow up. To feel joy and excitement in all the potential around and within you, not to feel intimidated or worried that you may do the wrong thing, or not fit in, or not be enough. In the card, the person sitting on the bed holds their toy tightly, clinging to their childhood as the grasping hands of the world reach up in a threatening way. If only the person would look up and see all the keys reflected in the mirror. And here is the secret to divining evolve. Have the courage to realize that you have all the keys of unlocking all your unique, powerful potential within your grasp. Simply have the courage to look up and accept that you are evolving and everything will work out exactly the way that it's meant to. Look at that. The person sitting on the bed holds their toy tightly, clinging to their childhood as the grasping hands of the world reach up in a threatening way. It's like these kids, they didn't have a choice in the predestined appointments that they would be showing up for. It's like they're clinging to their childhood, knowing that this in-between time is going to be when they're called to action. How sad. Occupation and house. Whether this be military occupation, actual occupation, power, some sort of linking occupation between the families, or how it's linked to the houses. I'm noticing this child is in front of her bed and this main male is standing in a family room. So again, JonBenet being taken out of her bed and placing John O'Keefe inside of 34 Fairview, with an emphasis on the kids that were involved. Another connection there is Colin and John Andrew were both technically off limits to the public for speculation about being involved. John Andrew was cleared immediately. His alibi was quote unquote rock solid. He was lawyered up immediately. He was nowhere near the house at the time. He was proven to be impossible to be involved because of where he was, the plane, the geographical differences. I don't buy it. I think that was all a part of the alibi to protect him. Same with Colin. It was covered up. They tried to make sure Colin wasn't at the house when John was there. That was being hidden. Judge specifically excluded Colin from being mentioned as somebody that could have been involved. There's this energy around protecting the two. There were other kids in the house also, the other Albert kids were in the house. Same thing with Burke. He was in the house. So there's this energy also of other familiar ties being present and in the home when this tragedy happened. They weren't covered up or claimed not to have been there. But it's an emphasis on the two that were not supposed to be there or had alibis or were taken out of the equation, or their true focus, which would be Colin and John Andrew. But in a way, I feel like this is a generational thing that happens in the home and in the basements of these powerful people behind closed doors, where it's not random anymore. It's with inside powerful families in their own basements where this evil happens, but it's a generational thing. It's the dads were both aware. The dads probably orchestrated it and the kids carried it out. All right, JonBenet, I'm going to get 3 cards for your side if you want to give me... I guess I'll show you guys. This is a new deck. Oh, death at the bottom. With 9 of Cups, 9 of Raindrops, emotional stability. 9 of Cups is wish fulfillment. This death, JonBenet specifically, her death was something that I feel John Andrew took extreme pleasure in. This was more than just, in terms of the way that John O'Keefe mentions these predestined appointments, how some show up eagerly. I feel like John Andrew came to his appointment eager and excited and took great joy in what he did to that little girl. 9 of Cups is the ultimate high. wish fulfillment in her death. This is the Prism Tarot. Isn't this so pretty? This is a new deck. All right, JonBenet, I'm gonna get two more cards here. Ace of Swords. New ideas. The Magician. Creation. Bottom of the deck is the King of Cups. Emotional maturity with emotional stability. New ideas and creation. I'm gonna get two more. I think we're gonna do 5 and 5 because this feels like incomplete. Feels like foundation, and then I need to get two more. JonBenet, can you give me two more cards for this energy here? I'm getting the energy that like well, I guess I'll just wait. It's too many, but then we have a King of Wands at the bottom, the Hierophant, another King. Now we have King of Swords, King of Wands with intellect, unlearned, priorities, and leadership. Yeah, like unlearning. I feel like I keep getting stopped. Okay, King of Swords is back out here. I keep getting stopped when I try to say what I'm saying, when I'm trying to say what I'm feeling with these three cards. So I feel like maybe that's not right, or there's a reason why I'm not able to get it out. But 3 of Swords with heartbreak with the King of Swords. I'm just going to take these and just say what I'm feeling. I feel like whoever did this to JonBenet, I'm going to say John Andrew. Of course, all alleged, my opinion. I'm just a crazy cuckoo lady who reads energy. This is not fact whatsoever, but I'm going to call the person on this side John Andrew. I feel like in some of these instances, I'm getting the energy where it's like predetermined and methodically planned out, and then some of these energies just show up. Other times it's like, in this particular case, I feel like it was more his idea. Like John Andrew had more creative freedom in how this was going to happen. Like I don't feel, whereas in John O'Keefe's energy, I feel more like there was a certain way this was going to happen, and then like everybody falls in line. With this energy, I feel like John Ramsey would have given John Andrew like complete creative control, and he took great joy in orchestrating how this was going to happen. But I feel like the ideas and the way that it came together directly came from John Andrew himself. I don't feel like John Ramsey gave much direction here, and I'm getting the energy of like John Andrew took great pride in this and put this together in a way that he felt would make his dad proud. I do feel his dad, John Andrew and John Ramsey, both knew that this date was approaching and had this soul contract. And I do know that John Ramsey knew of the abuse and knew that this was a predestined appointment, but I feel like in a way this wasn't John Ramsey being complete puppet master. I feel like he gave creative control over to John Andrew, and this was his masterpiece coming to life. But I feel the dad, and the way it was shown to me with the generations, is like was aware of it and in some way pulling the strings, but not in the details. I feel like John Andrew had a big part in the details with the paintbrush and the garrote and the basement and different aspects of how this played out. Everything I feel like was orchestrated and planned by John Andrew himself. He didn't just mindlessly show up and was like programmed to just carry out the acts. I feel like it was his own creative control. All right, we're gonna get 5 for John, and then we will pull a middle energy to see how these connect. John O'Keefe, thank you again for being here. Always a pleasure. Can you give me 5 cards, giving me clarity on the dream or any information you want me to know tonight? King of Cups. Ooh. The Emperor. The Moon. This is a bunch of people at a kitchen table. What looks like to be a celebration, like the birthday party. We have an emperor who's inside, but then outside the window you see the full moon, and then you see 2 people going head to head outside under the full moon. Whereas like here, I feel like this emperor was pulling the strings. But then here you have like this entire party of witnesses. You literally see the party here. Different ages. Different genders. You see old and young, feminine, masculine, sitting around a table, drinking. It says black strap on the wheelbarrows. We see the skeleton appear, which would be like the sacrifice if that was energy of like the skeleton with the hangman. And then you also see just different energies with caskets. The house, the party, the main male, the emperor. The energy of the kid, the in-between adulthood and childhood with going head to head. Again, with that energy of like John, I feel like there was also energy of a confrontation outside of the house. King of Swords. It's a lot of masculine energy here. King of Cups, King of Swords, the Emperor. We have King of Swords in the exact same position here. Interesting. Would this be the archetype of the 3rd generation King of Swords? John, can I get one more? Oh, 3 came out here too. When I was... Okay, that's interesting because when the 3 flipped out on JonBenet's side, the Hierophant was amongst one of them where it said unlearn. So 3 just flipped out again in the same position for John also. And this is the 10 of Pentacles, the Temperance, and the Hierophant. Something about the generations. Bloodlines. Temperance. Bringing 2 together, and then like traditions. We'll make note of those. 4 of Wands, which is the home. John, can I get one more for your side? Six of Wands, which is victory and success. That's kind of giving me the energy of like, well, like in John's energy, the energy of a fight. Like the Emperor being like, I don't know, in like a boxing match you have, or in wrestling, I don't know, you have like the judges or the people who, I don't know, people watching, judging, determining who the winner is. You have a battle here. And then with victory and success, it's like, I feel like this King of Swords in both of these is like the victor. So in this one, I feel like the King of Swords is it's the person appointed to take the life of the two souls we have here. This looks like a successful battle, a head-to-head, declaring one of them the victor. And this king over here is King of Heartbreak. Like JonBenet's story broke the world's heart. Like this is different type of energy. This is like an extreme spiritual battle taking place here. Somebody thinking they're winning spiritually and physically. But then this is the energy of like the taking of an innocent baby, like the heartbreak of the innocence, taking the innocent and then winning a battle. Nine of Wands at the bottom. Both were wounded. Both have energies of darkness surrounding them. The wounding. I'm going to get one card from this deck for JonBenet's energy and one card from the Prism Tarot for John's energy. JonBenet, can you give me one card out of this deck to tie in your energies over here? Can you get one card here? That was two, but I'll tell you in case they come out again. Eight of Cups and Three of Pentacles. Can I get one card, please? Three cards came out. Every time we channel JonBenet, the Sun ends up coming out. The Sun came out with the Tower card here and the Queen of Swords. Four of Cups is here. Ooh, with the Four of Swords. Look at this. The double fours at the bottom. This is a little girl in a basement, in a cellar. And the Four of Cups, if you look at this, it's giving mind control. You can see like substances and apothecary jars, mixtures back there. Somebody, it's giving like hypnosis, therapy. And then look at the guy's face on these like this to me is giving Grandpa J energy with John Ramsey, and then looking into what he's being programmed for his generation in terms of like his son and the Tower. But this Queen of Swords is interesting. because we have mature woman that was at the bottom of this deck. So I'm going to put all these back and pull one, but I felt like that was interesting in itself. All right, JonBenet, can I get one card for the King of Swords energy? Let's clarify it. We have King of Swords in the exact same positions here. Both of them came out with the energies of the Hierophant when the 3 flipped out. JonBenet, can you clarify the King of Swords for me? One card for King of Swords energy. So one card hit the floor. I feel like that's important to note because one, it hit the floor, and two, it's a single card. And this is Queen of Wands. Interesting. With the Ace of Swords again, like the truth. There's something about feminine. This is giving me the energy of Beth. Like maybe Beth wouldn't show up to her appointment. Beth didn't show up for her appointment, but so she showed up at the pearly gates. John Andrew showed up willingly and joyfully. Going back to John's first marriage where I feel like it was in his first marriage where they had to be the ones to carry out whatever generational bondage this is. Like John Ramsey's father, and then he anchored the energy, and it had to be within his first family. The first 3 kids he had, it had to be carried out in that bloodline. And then maybe Beth didn't show up to her appointment. She went to heaven. And maybe because of that, he had to lose. Like the sacrifice had to be one of his own kids because his first kid refused. It was like an eye for an eye. And this queen is missing an eye, ironically. Her eye is cut out and her throat is cut. Because Beth was going to speak. Her ability to speak on this was cut off. It was like an eye for an eye. So JonBenet was the consequence. Interesting. Wow. Okay, John, can you give me one card for the energy of the King of Swords on this side? What is your King of Swords? Can you give me one? Card 9, the Hermit. Seek truth. Oh, the Hermit comes through in John O'Keefe's readings often with Brian Albert. He's a Virgo, which is the Hermit card, directly in between main male, the Emperor, and the Hermit. Was this Brian Albert Jr.'s contract? And Colin is in there to be the Burke. Holy shit. was Colin Albert the Burke Ramsey to distract just enough to keep Junior completely hidden from speculation. Wow. That's interesting. I know a lot of you are not going to agree with that. The video is getting kind of long already, so I brought out the mini Everyday Witch to clarify, so I'm just going to get 4 cards linking this middle piece. We have 2 cards linking them here. I'm going to get 4 cards linking these 6 cards in the middle. JonBenet, John O'Keefe, can you guys collectively give me 4 cards that will link your energies? How can we bring the final message together here? Four final cards, please. Okay, there's 4. 5 of Pentacles, being left out in the cold. 6 of Swords, travel, taking off. It's giving me that energy of like leaving the scene of the crime. They were never in the house. One, like John O'Keefe was never in the house. John Andrew was never in the house. Something about this night in this house and what happened that night. Somebody left the scene and weren't supposed to be on the radar. Oh, and then we have Justice with the 9 of Swords. Fear, anxiety around justice. Whoever did this possibly lives in this type of energy. The kids. Or the adults. Like maybe John Ramsey and Brian Albert are the ones that carry the 9 of Swords energy around justice, because they're the 2 that are going to be in the hot seat. Like Brian Albert, you know, once Karen was found not guilty, is going to be in the hot seat. It was his home. There's an energy around fears, nightmares, and anxiety as it relates to justice, law, and order. Something about staying off of law enforcement's radar. I was never there, leaving quickly. This person is running away with kids. They're protecting 2 kids. Somebody's running away protecting 2 kids. Taking them outside of the home. John O'Keefe, can you tell me who is in this 9 of Swords energy? Show me the energy of who is in this state of fear and anxiety. Oh my God. I knew if I asked John, I would get a clear, direct answer. The Emperor, right here. 9 of Swords, the Emperor. It's the Emperors. It's not the King of Swords who are in this energy. It's the John Ramseys and the Brian Alberts who are, oh my God, it's the fathers. Feeling probably guilty about the deals they made with the devil that their kids have to play out because of the way this internal energy works with the switching of the generations, where now it goes to the basements of your own homes, where your own kids are now the victim of this whatever type of archetype an MK Ultra like energy would be. The guilt falls on the fathers, and so does the fear and anxiety. Holy cow, that was so direct. Wow, thank you, John. You never... Death at the bottom. The blood is on the dad's hands. John Ramsey, Brian Albert, They are the generational anchors that allowed this to happen. Two of Pentacles. Yep. There's that infinity sign. The infinity. Death at the bottom with the Emperor. When asking John O'Keefe, who's in this energy of the justice, the fear, and the anxiety. Guys, I'm going to leave that there. I don't even feel like I need to pull a final oracle card. I feel like the dream in itself was the oracle message, and John just continues to come through with such clear messages for us in such a simple yet profound way. And John, I can't thank you enough. JonBenet, thank you for being here as well. Thank you guys. I can't wait to channel you again. To my viewers, stay tuned. We have a lot more John O'Keefe coming up. We still haven't got a winner for the 7K, so if I don't hear from Kate, by Sunday we'll pick a new one. I will give you the details of the 8K giveaway coming soon. Thank you guys so much for being here and sticking out these long readings with me and semi craziness. I know all of this is a little out there sometimes, but I appreciate your guys' support. I love you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.